I gave this presentation, or a similar one, in Denver last spring, and the statements at the beginning are quite controversial, shall we say, and mostly because I like to think outside the box. And we had professors sitting in the front of the room shooting me eye darts, not bows and arrows, but just darts coming out of her eyes, okay? And so what I thought I'd do is make this a little easier for you. So I'll wear this. And notice I'm not going to turn my back on you people because I don't trust you. But anyway, so we'll see how it goes, and hopefully I can take it off. Okay. And so I'm saying that we ought to be teaching small business accounting like a QuickBooks, like a Peachtree, my books, and all these other things in a university classroom instead of major ERP systems. Okay? And there's some really pretty good reasons why. This thing is not progressing. Do you have control of advancing?
Yeah, I'll advance.
I'll just point to that. Okay. Brigham Young, one of the best accounting organizations, colleges in the country, position their accounting information system at the first part of their program, their master's program and undergraduate program. And so what they did is they want to get into the technology as soon as we can. Some well-known universities in the city have put their AIS program at the end, at the beginning, back at the end again, and they still don't know what's going on. But what they did is that they presented, BYU presented a case. They did the case, it was not a business simulation, but it was a transaction type case where they were selling things. They would put this case, present it to the students, and they would do it in Excel. And they would do it quickly in Excel. So in a 13-week semester, the students would get this done in the first week or 2 weeks, okay? Then they would take that same case and put it into a small business account. I think they were using QuickBooks, okay? The students would configure their QuickBooks within a week. They would work on the case, and by the time the semester was over, students really understood what an AIS system does. Okay? Okay. Some universities, and I know San Diego State is one of them, was teaching SAP, or they were teaching other of these highfalutin languages. Or I think because of their ego, they wanted their students to know, to graduate and say, okay, my students learned SAP and is proficient at doing a case or two in SAP. And that's all well and good, but they don't get what the AIS is all about. They don't get what AIS is, Accounting Information Systems. They spend almost the entire semester configuring these large systems. And the configuration is so detailed, you know, it's a booklet on how to configure your company. Okay? And so by the time they get finished with their program, they get pretty decent at configuring SAP. But they're accountants. They're not technicians, okay? And I think it's missing the point. So did some research, and I know Wikipedia is frowned upon from professional journal articles, but their AIS definition is as good as any of the others. Go. Okay. This is my thought, that QuickBooks is equal to Sage, it's equal to Dynamics, it's equal to SAP, equal to MyBooks and Oracle, etc. Please. I'm going to quit. So I'm suggesting that these are really all the same. I mean, how many ways can you sell a product, decrement inventory, increase receivables, increase sales, et cetera, et cetera? I mean, they all do basically the same thing. Okay. So what's the difference? Keep you going here. Okay. Capabilities. Obviously, an SAP or an Oracle system is going to handle tremendous volumes of data. Okay, a QuickBooks or a MyBooks is not going to be able to do that. Okay, QuickBooks and these small business accounting things are targeted towards small or medium businesses, with a couple of dozen employees. Okay, SAP is targeted to companies with thousands and thousands of employees. Okay, so distinct differences, but basically all the same. The professional research, this gentleman said that using a small AIS system can be very successful teaching AIS. Okay, and basically teaching the foundational skills. Okay, yeah. He carries on. He had a lot of things to say about this. What I am proposing for my university is to take Excel, hopefully a single case, progress through the dozen or so accounting courses that we have, and make sure that these students learn Excel. We're not teaching Excel how to do copy paste and all that other stuff. You can learn that on the internet. You can go to community college for that. But it's really embarrassing if you have a degree in accounting and you don't even know how to spell the word Excel. You put 2 L's on it, and that's really embarrassing. So we're going to try and solve that problem. Okay. So we got another researcher here, Hingarani. It's always been a challenge. SAP, they follow the tedious configuration process, and it takes them most of the semester to get the system even configured. Using a QuickBooks Online, number one, it's free. Number two, it'll take you a couple hours to configure your course. That's it. Okay. Let's see. So feedback from employers, it's basically, we don't want you to learn, we don't want you to teach SAP because we don't use SAP, we use Oracle. Or we use, what's that, Microsoft, whatever they're using. And even if you teach SAP and we use SAP, we're going to use it totally different than what you're used to or what you learned in the classroom. Okay, so there again, Brigham Young, I think, has a pretty good solution. And independent of what BYU is doing, we did the same thing at my school. We had a case that we actually did in Excel, and then we did the same case in QuickBooks Online, which QuickBooks Online is free to the students now, and we get that done in 4 weeks. Right. So I'm suggesting that using an SAP or Great Plains is self-defeating, because we don't know what the students, we don't know where they're going to find a job. We don't know what software they're going to be using. And even if we guess right, they're going to be using it in a totally different way. And so why waste time learning a piece of software when the corporation is going to teach you that anyway when you first start? Okay. Okay. So what I'm suggesting is to get the AIS hurdle out of the way as quickly as possible and get into the actual running of the business. Okay, here's some examples, some research that we did, ratings of the various kinds of companies and what kind of software they're using. And I don't sell QuickBooks. I use it. Do I like it? It's okay. It's pretty good, and every year it gets better. The desktop version is better than the online version. Okay, but they keep falling into the #1 slot. It's the most widely used accounting package. Okay, and we have to get over this stuff where somebody's going to look for a job and are going to put on the resume, I know QuickBooks Online, and get rid of the attitude that the corporation, the hiring authority, is going to look down on that. That they're going to look at that. Well, QuickBooks, we don't use QuickBooks. That's baby stuff. Well, we got to get away from that, because it's not baby stuff. You're learning how AIS works. Okay. And so to conclude, my time is up in 1 minute, but we started late. What do we do in a college, in a university? We compress knowledge and put it in a funnel and pour it into their ears, and hopefully something will stick, but it's very compressed. Okay? And so I'm suggesting that San Diego State, for example, is wasting their time teaching SAP. They're wasting their time. They may look good to potential employers and say, well, we teach SAP and our students are SAP and blah, 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 we're ready to go. I think it's a waste of time. Okay. When students get hired at a larger corporation, that corporation is expecting to train them in their software in great details. Okay. So, am I outside the box? I got no darts. That woman in the front row, by the way, was going like that by the time I finished. Okay, and it kind of makes sense to me, and I don't know if it makes sense to you guys or not, but I think we need to stop wasting time. Thank you.
I want to open up the floor to any questions. I did have a question for you, and you had mentioned that Excel should be in every accounting course. You said not the simple cut and paste. Can you expand on that a little bit? Do you mean as making sure students understand how to create formulas, develop them, execute?
Yes, and what I do in my cost accounting class, I have a a master budgeting case. I actually ripped off the case from the IMA, Institute of Management Accountants, and changed it a little bit. And so they go through this budgeting case in great detail. There's like 14 spreadsheets, starting from sales, production, administration, cost of goods sold, inventory, and all of these different spreadsheets. And the key that's hard for students to understand is that you don't invite data redundancy. If you put a price that you're going to sell your product in, you put it into a data assumptions tab or spreadsheet, and you keep referencing back to that same cell from the other spreadsheets. That's something new to these students. But the beauty of it is so great because you can change the price and it filters all the way through the entire case, all the way to the pro forma income statement. And that's power. Excel is a very, very powerful language. And people, in my day-to-day role at home, I don't use the power of Excel. I'll use some formulas, but I don't use the power, and that's what we're trying to teach you.
Can I add a comment? I was texting my daughter while you were talking, and she works for a very large accounting office here in San Diego, and I was asking her what she uses, and she was saying, yes, they do use QuickBooks, and then she put this in bold. Most everyone uses one version of QuickBooks or another. Excel is also very, very, very important, used by bookkeepers and accountants.
Yeah.
Just to reinforce what you said. And put it this way. And the other thing I wanted to say and add to your comment is, and I'm certainly not an accountant, and having listened to her talking, they have to be able to the accountants have to be able to understand and explain to other business divisions what it is and what they're talking about. And the Excel does it very, very nicely.
I agree.
Very, very nicely.
I agree. In fact,
and I agree with your comment about first thing they should do is know an accountant, because should have to know one of these AIS systems.
Yeah.
I agree.
In fact, there's a version of this presentation that I tailored towards corporations. When you hire a new accountant, you don't know anything about them except from a conversation or a resume. Okay, and so I'm suggesting put them into a QuickBooks type environment for the first week or two. If they can't figure that out, working by themselves and working with videos, and if they can't figure that out, what do you think they're going to do to your SAP system? Ain't going to happen.